The Grand Nexus floated in the darkness of space like a jewel made of metal and light. It was bigger than most moons, a station that held the power of 847 different alien species. At its center sat the Council of Supremacy, and today they had called an emergency meeting. Council Supreme Thalvorak sat on his throne, his scaled body reflecting the light from the artificial star outside. He had lived for 8,000 years and seen countless species bow before the congregation. His eyes, ancient and cold, looked at the hologram floating in the center of the chamber. Another primitive species, Warprime Valkyra said. Her body was made of pure energy, contained inside armor that looked like crystal. She moved closer to the hologram, studying the blue and green planet. They call it Earth. They call themselves humans. Sage philosopher Quindros stepped forward. He was the smartest being in the known galaxy, able to calculate the future with frightening accuracy. Our scouts have gathered data. These humans have just discovered faster-than-light travel. Their weapons are simple. Their ships are weak. By our standards, they are children playing with fire. Thalvorax nodded slowly. Then we follow the protocol. We send our best to meet them, to test them, to see if they will submit or if they must be eliminated. This was how it always worked. When a new species reached the stars, the congregation sent representatives. But these representatives were not diplomats in the peaceful sense. They were warriors, strategists, and enforcers. They would arrive with overwhelming force and give the new species a choice: join the congregation and accept their place as lesser beings or be destroyed. I recommend we send the triumvirate, Valkyra said. This situation requires beings of absolute certainty. The chamber fell silent. The triumvirate of absolute victory. 3 beings who had never failed in 15,000 combined years of service. They had conquered worlds, broken empires, and negotiated the surrender of species that thought themselves invincible. Commander Hio, Quindros said, bringing up a new hologram. A tall warrior appeared, covered in armor that had never been pierced. From the Talmor species. She has conquered 47 worlds. Her tactical mind is unmatched. She has never lost a battle. Diplomat Yuri, Valkyra added. Another hologram appeared, showing a being with 4 arms and eyes that seemed to look into the soul. Master of psychological warfare. He has made 200 species surrender without firing a single shot. He breaks minds, not bodies. And Enforcer Day, Thalvorax finished. The final hologram showed a massive creature, 12 feet tall with muscles like steel cables, genetically perfected, strong enough to crush starship hulls with his bare hands. He can survive in the vacuum of space. He has killed 1,000 champions from 1,000 worlds. The council voted. It was unanimous. The triumvirate would go to Earth with 50 warships. They would show these humans what real power looked like. They would offer submission, and if the humans refused, they would demonstrate why no species had ever successfully defied the congregation. 3 days later, the triumvirate stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dominance. Commander Hio studied the star charts, plotting their approach to Earth's solar system. Diplomat Yuri prepared his psychological profiles, ready to exploit every weakness in the human mind. Enforcer Day stood silent, a living weapon waiting to be unleashed. The humans have colonies on their moon and on the planet they call Mars, Hio said. They have stations scattered through their asteroid belt. 12 billion individuals on their homeworld. 12 billion, Yuri repeated, his voice smooth like oil, and not one of them knows what is coming. Not one of them understands how small they truly are. Day cracked his knuckles, a sound like breaking stone. Will they fight? They always fight, Hio answered. At first. Then they see our ships, our weapons, our power. Then they understand. Then they kneel. The fleet entered hyperspace. The journey would take 6 standard days. During that time, the triumvirate reviewed every piece of data about humanity. They watched videos of human wars, studying their tactics. They read human philosophy, looking for weaknesses in their thinking. They analyzed human biology, identifying their physical limitations. They are fragile, Day observed. Their bones break easily. They need oxygen to breathe. They die from temperature extremes. They are afraid of pain. All advantages, Yuri said with a smile. Fear is the greatest weapon. We will make them understand how easily they can be broken. But Commander Hio noticed something strange in the data. Human history was filled with wars, yes, but also with something else. Humans had a tendency to fight even when victory was impossible. They had stories of last stands, of sacrifices, of choosing death over surrender. It was irrational. It was illogical. It was concerning. She pushed the thought away. The congregation had faced stubborn species before. They all submitted eventually. Humans would be no different. On the 6th day, the fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. The effect was immediate and intentional. 50 massive warships appearing from nothing, their hulls gleaming, their weapons charged. The congregation wanted the humans to see them from as far away as possible. They wanted them to have time to understand what was coming, time to feel fear growing in their hearts. Commander Hyo opened a communication channel that would broadcast to every human device in the system. Her voice was cold and clear. "I am Commander Hyo of the Galactic Congregation. Your species has been observed. Your development has been measured. You will submit to the authority of the congregation. You will open your world to our rule. You will accept your place in the galactic order. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of reality. You have one standard day to respond with your unconditional surrender. Refuse, and we will demonstrate why submission is your only option." The message ended. The triumvirate waited for panic. They waited for desperate transmissions. They waited for the humans to understand how helpless they truly were. Instead, 6 hours later, they received a response. The voice was calm, almost friendly. "This is Director June Park of Earth's First Contact Initiative. We have received your message. We understand you wish to talk. We propose a meeting on neutral ground. There is a station we have prepared for this possibility. It is called Hope's End. Come, let us speak as equals, not as masters and servants. Let us see if there is a better way forward than threats and submission." Diplomat Yuri laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. "Equals? They think themselves are equals? They do not understand," Hyo said. "We will teach them." The triumvirate agreed to the meeting, but only to demonstrate their superiority face to face. They would bring a small escort, just to show how little they feared these humans. They would stand before the human leaders and watch them realize how powerless they truly were. As the eternal dominance moved toward Hope's End station, none of the triumvirate considered that they might be walking into something unexpected. They had done this 1,000 times before. It always ended the same way. But this time would be different. This time, the mightiest warriors of the congregation were about to encounter something they had never faced before. Something that would change everything they thought they knew about power, about conquest, and about humanity itself. The station waited for them in the darkness, small and humble, with secrets hidden in its walls that would soon swallow the greatest champions the galaxy had ever known. The space station called Hope's End was not impressive by congregation standards. It was small, built from basic metals and plastics with solar panels that looked almost primitive. But it floated peacefully near Mars' orbit, waiting for the visitors that would soon arrive. Admiral Bora Kim stood in the command center of Earth's defense fleet, watching the alien ships approach on her screens. Each one was bigger than anything humanity had ever built. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a city in seconds. She had fought in the colonial wars, had seen battles that killed thousands, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. "They're not trying to hide their strength," her second officer said quietly. "They want us to see how powerful they are." "Fear is their first weapon," Bora answered. "They want us afraid before they even arrive." Director June Park stood beside her, his face calm despite the situation. He had spent 20 years preparing for first contact, studying every possibility, every scenario. The question is whether they'll listen before they attack, whether they can see us as something other than primitives to be conquered. Dr. Mina Lee was running final checks on the translation systems. She was Earth's leading expert in xenobiology and linguistics, though until today that had been entirely theoretical. Their language patterns are complex but logical. "We should be able to communicate clearly. Whether they want to communicate is another matter." The triumvirate's shuttle approached Hope's End 3 hours later. It was sleek and powerful, making the human station look even more basic by comparison. The docking process was smooth, and soon the 3 alien beings were walking through the corridors of the station. Dr. Mina Lee greeted them at the airlock, accompanied by a small team. She had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times, but nothing matched the reality. Enforcer Day had to duck to fit through the doorway, his massive body seeming to fill the entire space. Diplomat Yuri's 4 eyes studied everything with unsettling intensity. Commander Hyo moved with the precision of a predator, her hand never far from her weapon. "Welcome to Hope's End," Mina said, her voice steady. "We have prepared quarters for you and a meeting room where we can talk." We offer food and hospitality in the spirit of peaceful contact. Diplomat Yuri tilted his head, studying the human woman. He reached out with his mental abilities, trying to sense her fear, her weakness. But what he found confused him. She was nervous, yes, but not afraid. There was curiosity in her mind, even excitement, as if meeting them was an opportunity, not a threat. "We are not here for hospitality," Commander Hio said. "We are here to receive your surrender." "Perhaps we should talk first," Mina replied with a small smile. "Come, let me show you to the meeting room." The negotiations began in a chamber with large windows showing the stars beyond. Director June Park sat across from the triumvirate, with Admiral Bora Kim and Dr. Mina Lee beside him. Human guards stood at the doors, though everyone knew they would be useless if fighting started. "Let me be clear," Heo began. "The congregation has ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years. We have brought order to 847 species. You are new to space, weak and alone. Your only rational choice is to submit to our authority. Accept our rule and you will be protected. Refuse and you will be eliminated." June Park listened carefully, then leaned forward. "You speak of rule and submission, but have you considered partnership? We may be new to the stars, but we have much to offer. Our science, our art, our perspective on the universe." Diplomat Yuri laughed softly. "Partnership? Between a child and an adult? Between an insect and a giant? You misunderstand your position completely, do we?" Admiral Bora asked. "You came here with 50 warships because you wanted us to feel small, but you agreed to meet with us, 3 of your greatest leaders, in our small station. Why? If we are so insignificant, why bother talking at all?" The question hung in the air. Commander Hio's expression did not change, but something flickered in her eyes. The human made a valid point. The congregation could have simply destroyed Earth from orbit, but they always preferred submission over destruction. Willing subjects were more useful than dead ones. The discussions continued for 3 days. The triumvirate tried every technique they knew. Diplomat Yuri used psychological pressure, trying to make the humans feel helpless. Commander Hio presented military scenarios showing how easily Earth could be conquered. Enforcer Day simply stood silent, a reminder of physical power humanity could never match. But the humans did not break. They did not show the proper fear. Instead, they asked questions. They shared meals with their would-be conquerors. Dr. Mina Lee spent hours discussing biology with Enforcer Day, genuinely fascinated by his genetic modifications. Director June Park engaged Diplomat Yuri in philosophical debates that went nowhere, but seemed to frustrate the alien more than any resistance. On the 3rd night, Enforcer Day returned to his quarters. The room was simple but comfortable, with a bed that had been specially reinforced to hold his weight. He lay down thinking about the strange humans. They were weak, yes, but they did not act weak. They looked at him without terror, spoke to him without trembling. It was wrong somehow. The lights were dim. Day closed his eyes, intending to rest for a few hours before tomorrow's negotiations. He did not notice the slight shimmer in the air near the corner of his room. He did not see the way the walls seemed to be slightly out of focus in one spot, as if reality itself was not quite solid there. When Commander Hio came to wake him the next morning, Enforcer Day was gone. The room was undisturbed. The door had not been opened. Security footage showed Day entering his quarters at night cycle and never leaving. But the bed was empty, and the massive warrior was nowhere to be found. Hio immediately called Diplomat Yuri. Together they confronted the humans, weapons drawn, demanding answers. Admiral Bora Kim looked genuinely shocked. "What do you mean he's gone? Where could he go? This station isn't that large." "You took him," Hio said, her voice deadly quiet. "This is some kind of trap." "We have taken no one," Director June Park insisted. "Search the station. Search everywhere. We will help you look." For the next 12 hours, both humans and aliens searched Hope's End from top to bottom. They checked every room, every corridor, every maintenance shaft. They scanned with sensors that could detect life signs through solid metal. They reviewed every second of security footage from every camera. Enforcer Day had vanished as completely as if he had never existed. Diplomat Yuri was unsettled in a way he had never been before. His species could sense lies, could feel deception in others, but the humans genuinely seemed confused and concerned. They were not lying when they said they did not know where Day had gone. "This is impossible," Yuri said to Hio privately. "Our sensors would detect any transporter beam. Any weapon, any technology that could move something as large as day. But there is nothing. It is as if he simply stopped existing. The humans did something, Hio insisted. They must have. We just do not understand how yet. The congregation fleet moved to attack positions around Earth. Commander Hio sent a message to the Council, reporting the situation. War Prime Valkyra was furious, demanding immediate retaliation, but Council Supreme Thalvorax ordered restraint. First, they needed to understand what had happened. Diplomat Yuri decided to continue the negotiations while searching for Day. Perhaps the humans would reveal something in conversation. He met with Dr. Mina Lee in the station's observation deck, a room with windows on all sides showing the stars. Your enforcer is missing, Mina said gently. I am truly sorry. We want to find him as much as you do. You expect me to believe you are innocent? Yuri asked, his mental powers reaching out, trying to break through her defenses. I expect you to consider all possibilities, Mina replied, meeting his eyes. What if something else happened? What if there is something on this station that neither of us fully understands? Before Yuri could respond, before he could question what she meant, exhaustion overtook him. He had not slept since Day disappeared, spending every hour searching. He excused himself and returned to his quarters. The room was similar to Day's, simple and functional. Yuri lay down on the bed, his forearms folded across his chest. His mind raced with possibilities, with theories, with growing unease. He did not notice the shimmer in the corner. He did not see the place where the wall seemed to blur at the edges. He fell into sleep, and in his sleep something reached for him. When Commander Hio came to find Diplomat Yuri the next morning, she found another empty room. Another impossible disappearance. Another member of the Triumvirate simply gone. And this time, Hio had been monitoring Yuri's quarters remotely. She had watched via quantum link, a camera system that could not be hacked or fooled. She had seen Yuri lie down. She had seen him close his eyes. Then, for exactly 0.3 seconds, the feed had cut out. Just a brief moment of static. When it came back, Yuri was gone. Commander Hio stood alone in the empty room, and for the first time in her long military career, she felt something she had not experienced in centuries. She felt afraid. The congregation fleet surrounded Earth like a noose ready to tighten. 50 warships, each one capable of destroying entire cities, their weapons charged and ready. The humans responded by mobilizing their defense fleet, but everyone knew it would not be enough. If fighting started, Earth would burn. Captain Suhan stood on the bridge of the battleship Indomitable, positioned directly between the two fleets. Her ship was humanity's newest and most powerful, but compared to the alien vessels, it looked like a toy. She kept her hand steady on the command console, refusing to show fear to her crew. They could attack at any moment, her weapons officer said quietly. We would have maybe 10 seconds of warning. Then we use those 10 seconds well, Sue replied. Hold position. Do not fire unless they fire first. Our job is to buy time for the diplomats to fix this situation. Back on Hope's End Station, Commander Hio was losing control. 2 members of the Triumvirate had vanished without explanation. Her reputation, built over centuries, was crumbling. The Council of Supremacy was demanding answers she could not provide. And worst of all, she could not figure out how the humans had done it. We need to talk, Admiral Borakim said, entering the conference room where Hio sat surrounded by alien equipment and scanning devices. This situation benefits neither of us. If your fleet attacks Earth, millions die. If we somehow harmed your people, we need to find out how and why. Work with me. Hio looked at the human admiral with cold eyes. Why should I trust you? Your species has taken 2 of the greatest warriors in the galaxy and hidden them so completely that even our most advanced sensors cannot find them. Our sensors cannot find them either, Bora said, sitting down across from Hio. I have been in command of this sector for 12 years. I know every system on this station. There is nowhere to hide someone like Enforcer Day. He is too large, too dense, too energetic. Our equipment should detect him easily. But there is nothing, not even a trace. Engineer Tae Choi entered the room carrying a data pad. He was the station's maintenance chief, a quiet man who seemed to always be in the background, fixing things, checking systems. Commander Hio, Admiral Kim, I have something you should see. He projected a schematic of Hope's End on the wall. I have been reviewing maintenance logs going back 2 years. There are 3 sections of the station that have consistent anomalies, small glitches in power flow, Minor sensor errors, strange readings that appear and disappear. Which sections? Hio demanded. Section 4, Section 7, and Section 12. Tay highlighted them on the schematic. The anomalies are never dangerous, just odd. Like the equipment is confused about what it is detecting. Hio felt her blood run cold. Enforcer Day disappeared from Section 12. Diplomat Yuri vanished from Section 7. Bora stood up quickly. Show me Section 4. Right now. They rushed through the corridors. Hio with her weapons drawn. Tay leading the way with his maintenance tools. Section 4 was a storage area, rarely used, filled with supply containers and spare parts. It looked completely normal. But when Hio scanned the walls with her advanced sensors, she saw something impossible. The atomic structure of the metal was wrong. Not dramatically, just slightly off, as if the atoms were not quite in phase with normal reality. It was the kind of reading you might get from a sensor malfunction. Easy to ignore. Except her sensors were perfect and never malfunctioned. What is this? Hio demanded, turning to the humans. What have you done to this station? Dr. Mina Lee had joined them, out of breath from running. We did not do anything. The anomalies were here when we built the station. We noticed them during construction and tried to investigate, but we could never find a source. Eventually, we just accepted them as quirks of this region of space. You built a diplomatic station in a region with unknown spatial anomalies? Hio could not believe the foolishness. Did you not think this was dangerous? The anomalies were minor, Director June Park said, arriving with more security personnel. Our scientists studied them. They concluded the readings were harmless, probably just interference from Mars's magnetic field or something similar. We had no reason to believe. Your scientists were wrong, Hio interrupted. These are not natural anomalies. These are fractures. Fractures in what? Bora asked. In reality itself. The room fell silent. Hio holstered her weapon and pulled out a more sophisticated scanning device. She moved along the wall of Section 4 slowly, watching the readings change. Space-time is not perfectly solid. It can be torn, bent, or cracked. When a ship travels faster than light, it puts stress on the fabric of space. Usually, space repairs itself instantly, but sometimes, in rare cases, tiny fractures remain. Places where the boundary between dimensions becomes thin. You are saying my station is built on top of dimensional cracks? Bora felt sick, not on top of. They are inside the station. Probably formed when you first brought construction materials through hyperspace to this location. The fractures are small, barely noticeable, unless something gets too close to them. Tay Choi spoke up, his voice shaking. The quarters where Enforcer Day and Diplomat Yuri slept. They were both near sections with anomalies. I assigned those rooms because they were quiet, away from high-traffic areas. I thought I was being helpful. No one blamed him. How could anyone have known? Can we get them back? Mina asked. If they fell through these fractures, where did they go? That depends on what lies beyond the fracture, Hio said grimly. Some dimensional spaces are harmless. Others are deadly. Some exist outside normal time, meaning subjectively. Your friends might have experienced years or centuries even though only days have passed here. Without knowing the nature of the fracture, I cannot predict their fate. Admiral Bora made a decision. We need to search Section 7. If Yuri went through a fracture there, maybe we can learn something from the site. They moved as a group, humans and aliens working together now, united by the mystery and the danger. Section 7 was a residential corridor similar to where Yuri had vanished. Hio scanned the walls, the floor, the ceiling. The readings were the same. Atomic structures slightly out of phase, reality not quite solid. Then she found something else. A corridor that branched off from the main hallway. It was not on any of the station blueprints. It should not exist. No one go down there, Bora ordered immediately. But Hio was already walking forward, her weapons ready, her sensors active. I am going to find my team, Hio said, with or without your help. Then I am coming with you, Bora replied, grabbing a plasma rifle from one of her guards. Sue, take command of the fleet if I do not return. Mina, inform Earth Command what is happening. Wait, Captain Suhan said via communicator from her ship. This is insane. You cannot just walk into an unknown dimensional fracture. My people are in there, Hio said. I do not abandon my warriors. And I will not let her go alone, Bora added. We started this together. We end it together. They entered the corridor that should not exist. Behind them, the humans and aliens watched nervously. The corridor stretched ahead, longer than the station's physical dimensions. The walls seemed to shimmer like heat waves on a summer day. The light was wrong, coming from no identifiable source. Hio checked her scanner. It was going wild, showing readings that made no sense. Distance measurements changed with every step. Time was flowing at different rates in different parts of the corridor. They were walking through a space that did not follow normal physical laws. Do you see that? Bora whispered, pointing ahead. Two figures stood in the distance, motionless. As Hio and Bora got closer, they recognized them. Enforcer Day and Diplomat Yuri, standing perfectly still, their eyes open but unseeing. They did not respond to their names being called. They did not react when Hio touched Day's massive arm. They are alive, Hio said, checking her medical scanner. Heartbeats, brain activity, all normal. But they are not here. Not mentally. It is as if their consciousness has been separated from their bodies. Bora felt the air around them change. It was like being watched by something vast and invisible. She looked around and saw nothing, but the feeling grew stronger. Something was aware of them. Something was observing them. Commander, we need to leave, Bora said urgently. Right now. But Hio was staring at Enforcer Day, at her friend and colleague, standing like a statue. She reached out to pull him back, to drag him toward the exit. The moment her hand touched his arm, everything changed. The corridor filled with light that was not light. Hio felt her mind expand in ways it was never meant to expand. She saw time not as a line, but as a web, with every possible moment existing simultaneously. She saw space not as emptiness, but as something alive and aware. She saw herself from outside her own body, from outside her own timeline, from outside her own universe, and she saw them, Enforcer Day and Diplomat Yuri, conscious and aware, existing in a state beyond physical form. They had not been taken. They had not been captured. They had experienced something that transformed them, something that showed them perspectives no mortal mind was meant to comprehend. Hio tried to scream, but her voice made no sound. She felt herself being pulled away from her body, felt her consciousness drifting into the vast space between realities. She understood now why Day and Yuri stood like empty shells. Their minds were gone, exploring dimensions that had no end. The news spread through the congregation like fire through dry grass. The triumvirate of absolute victory, three beings who had never failed in 15,000 years, were gone. Not killed, not captured in any conventional sense. Simply gone, taken by something humanity claimed they did not control and did not fully understand. The Grand Nexus erupted in chaos. Council members demanded explanations. Military leaders called for immediate revenge. The entire structure of galactic power felt shaken. If the triumvirate could fall, who was safe? Executor Grimdar was chosen to lead the response. He was a being of pure ruthlessness, someone who had destroyed 12 species that refused to submit. He arrived at Earth's solar system with 500 warships, 10 times the force that had come before. His orders were clear: retrieve the triumvirate or destroy Earth completely. There would be no more discussion. Fleet Marshal Quan Jin watched the new alien fleet arrive from Earth's command center. He was an old man now, had served in military command for 40 years, but this was beyond anything he had prepared for. 500 ships. Each one could level a continent. All of them arranged in attack formation around his home world. Send a message to all colonies, Quan ordered his staff. Evacuate any civilian stations. Move all non-military personnel to sheltered positions. If fighting starts, we will not be able to protect everyone. Captain Suhan's voice came through the communicator. Marshal, the alien commander is broadcasting on all frequencies. He is demanding to speak with our leadership immediately. Put him through, Quan said, straightening his uniform. On the screen, Executor Grimdar appeared. He was massive, covered in dark armor that seemed to absorb light. His face was difficult to read, but his eyes were cold and filled with hate. I am Executor Grimdar of the Galactic Congregation. You have taken 3 of our greatest leaders. You have one chance to return them alive and unharmed. Refuse and I will turn your planet into ash. You have 1 hour to respond. The transmission ended. Quan took a deep breath and looked at his advisors. Get me Director June Park and find Observer Hana Song. We need someone who understands what happened on that station. Observer Hana Song was in a briefing room when they found her. She was young for such an important intelligence position, only 30 years old, but she had a talent for seeing patterns others missed. She had been reviewing all the data from Hope's End, trying to understand what had really happened to the alien warriors. Marshal Quan needs me? She asked. The executor is here. He wants answers. You might be the only person who can explain this in a way that prevents war. Hana gathered her reports and headed to the communications center. She had 1 hour to save Earth, and she was not entirely sure how to do it. But she had an idea. A dangerous idea that might either prevent war or make everything worse. Director June Park met her at the communications center. The Council of Supremacy has agreed to hear our explanation. They are watching via quantum link. Everyone in the congregation will see this. No pressure. None at all, Hana replied with a nervous smile. She took her place in front of the camera, aware that she was about to address the most powerful beings in the galaxy. She thought about what to say, how to explain the impossible without sounding like she was making excuses. The connection opened. She could see the council chamber, the ancient beings who had ruled for thousands of years, all staring at her with expressions ranging from curiosity to pure rage. Executor Grimdar was there as well, his hand on his weapon. "I am Observer Hana Song of Earth," she began, keeping her voice calm and clear. "I understand you want to know what happened to Commander Hio, Diplomat Yuri, and Enforcer Day. The truth is complex, but I will explain as clearly as possible. You have taken our people," War Prime Valkyra interrupted. "There is nothing complex about kidnapping." "We have taken no one," Hana replied firmly. "Your champions encountered something we discovered 50 years ago. Something we do not fully understand. Something we cannot control. And something we tried to warn them about." She brought up holographic displays showing the data from Hope's End. "When humanity first achieved faster-than-light travel, we noticed strange readings in certain areas of space, tiny fractures in the fabric of reality, places where the boundary between dimensions becomes thin. We did not create these fractures. They are a natural consequence of bending space-time for hyperspace travel. We have used hyperspace for millennia," sage philosopher Quindros said. "We have never encountered such fractures." "You have," Hana corrected gently. "You just did not notice them or considered them insignificant sensor errors, because they are tiny, easily dismissed, harmless unless you get too close. But Hope's End was built in a region with several fractures. And your triumvirate stayed on the station for days, sleeping in quarters near these fractures." She showed footage of the impossible corridor, the place where reality did not quite make sense. "These fractures lead to a dimension we do not fully understand. A space where consciousness can exist without physical form, where time does not flow normally, where perspectives expand beyond what mortal minds are meant to experience." Dr. Mina Lee appeared on a split screen, joining the explanation. "We have studied these fractures for decades. We know they are dangerous. We have lost researchers who went too close, who wanted to explore what lay beyond. They came back changed, unable to fully return to normal existence. Their bodies functioned, but their minds had experienced something that separated them from linear reality. Your triumvirate entered these fractures," Hana continued, "not because we forced them, but because they did not recognize the danger. Commander Hio tried to rescue Enforcer Day and Diplomat Yuri. In the process, she also got pulled into the dimensional space beyond." "Then retrieve them," Executor Grimdar demanded. "Use your technology to bring them back." "We can retrieve their bodies," Engineer Tae Choi said, joining the transmission. "But their consciousness has been altered. They have experienced time and space from a perspective that does not fit into normal reality. We have brought people back before, but they are never the same. They have seen too much. They know too much. Their minds cannot fully return to three-dimensional existence." The council chamber fell silent. Council Supreme Thalvarax leaned forward, his ancient eyes studying the humans carefully. "You are saying our greatest warriors were defeated not by weapons or strategy, but by knowledge they should not have gained?" "Yes," Hana answered simply. "They saw infinity. They experienced existence from outside time. They understood things that organic minds are not meant to understand, and that knowledge changed them permanently." "Why did you build your station in such a dangerous place?" War Prime Valkyra asked, her voice sharp with suspicion. Admiral Bora Kim appeared on screen, still recovering from her own brief encounter with the fracture. "Because we are foolish. Because we did not fully understand the danger until it was too late. Because we thought we could study it safely. And because by the time we realized how serious the fractures were, the station was already built and we had learned to work around them. Every species that operates in this sector knows to avoid certain sections of our station," Director June Park added. "We mark them clearly. We warn people to stay away. Your triumvirate entered without hesitation because they did not believe anything could threaten them. Executor Grimdar stood up, his massive form dominating the screen. You expect us to believe that our greatest warriors were destroyed by their own arrogance? That they fell into traps you claim to have warned them about? We can prove it, Hana said. We can show you the retrieval process. We can bring their bodies back right now, with your council watching. But I warn you, what comes back will not be the beings you sent. They will be changed. Broken possibly. Their minds have touched something vast and terrible, and they cannot simply forget that experience. There was a long debate among the council. Some wanted to attack immediately, to punish humanity for the loss of the triumvirate regardless of explanation. Others wanted to see the retrieval process to understand what had really happened. Eventually, Council Supreme Thalvarax made the decision. Show us, he said. Bring them back. Let us see what happened to the mightiest among us. The entire galaxy watched as recovery specialist Yeon Kang prepared her team. She was humanity's leading expert in dimensional mechanics, had spent 15 years studying the fractures, and had successfully retrieved 7 people from dimensional spaces. But this would be her most difficult operation. Performed under the scrutiny of the entire congregation, Jan stood outside the sealed entrance to Section 7, wearing a specialized suit covered in sensors and protective fields. Her team had set up equipment around the entrance, creating a stabilization field that would hold the dimensional fracture open without expanding it. The fracture exists in multiple states simultaneously, Jan explained to the watching aliens. To retrieve someone, we have to reach into that space without getting pulled in ourselves. We anchor ourselves in normal reality and extend specialized tools into the dimensional space. It is like fishing in a pond where the water exists in 5 dimensions instead of 3. She activated the equipment. The air in front of the sealed section began to shimmer and twist. Reality bent like heated glass through the distortion. 6 months had passed since the congregation fleet withdrew from Earth's solar system. The galaxy had changed in ways both subtle and profound. The story of the triumvirate's fate had spread to every species, every world, every corner of known space. The beings who had never failed, who had conquered countless worlds, had been broken not by weapons but by knowledge itself. The Grand Nexus was quieter now. The Council of Supremacy met less frequently, and when they did, their discussions were different. Less talk of conquest, more talk of understanding. The disappearance of the triumvirate had shaken the very foundation of their power, forcing them to question everything they had believed for 50,000 years. But on Hope's End Station, life continued with a new sense of purpose. The sections containing dimensional fractures had been sealed with the best technology both humanity and the congregation could provide. Warning signs in 800 languages marked every entrance. Security systems monitored the areas constantly, ensuring no one accidentally wandered too close. Director June Park stood in the observation deck looking out at the stars. He had aged in the past 6 months, the stress of nearly causing a galactic war leaving its mark. But Earth was safe, and that was what mattered. They are asking to return, Admiral Bora Kim said, joining him at the window. She had recovered from her brief encounter with the dimensional fracture, though she still had nightmares about what she had felt in that impossible corridor. The triumvirate? June asked. Yes, Commander Hio specifically. She wants to come back to Hope's End. She says she needs to see the place where everything changed. June considered this carefully. Is she mentally stable enough for that? The congregation doctors say she has recovered as much as she ever will. She can function in normal society, can hold conversations, can understand basic reality. But she is not the same being who arrived here. None of them are. The request was approved after much debate. A small diplomatic vessel arrived 2 weeks later, carrying Commander Hio and a medical team. No weapons, no warships, just a simple transport. The congregation was being very careful now, treating humanity with a respect that had not existed before. Dr. Mina Lee met them at the airlock, the same place where she had greeted the triumvirate on that first day. But this time, the alien commander who stepped through was different. Hio moved more slowly, more carefully, as if every step required conscious thought. Her eyes, once cold and calculating, now held a distant quality, as if she was seeing multiple realities at once. Thank you for allowing me to return, Hio said quietly. Her voice was different too, softer, less certain. I needed to see this place again, to understand as much as I can what happened to me and my team. You are welcome here, Mina replied gently. But I must ask, are you sure you want to go near the sealed sections? We can talk in other parts of the station. I need to see it, Hyo insisted. I need to know if what I experienced was real, or if my mind created it from fear and confusion. They walked through the corridors together, Hyo accompanied by her medical team and human security personnel. Engineer Tae-choi had joined them as well, the man whose innocent room assignments had started the whole incident. He still felt guilty, though everyone told him it was not his fault. They reached the sealed entrance to Section 7. The door was covered in warning symbols and a force field hummed softly, preventing anyone from accidentally entering. Beyond it lay the impossible corridor, the space where reality bent and broke. This is as close as we can safely go, Admiral Bora said, standing beside Hyo. The fracture is still there, still active. We cannot close it or destroy it. We can only contain it and keep people away. Hyo stared at the sealed entrance for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. I can feel it. Even through the force field, even with all these walls between us, I can feel it calling. The space beyond wants to be explored, wants to be understood. It is like a question that demands to be answered, even though the answer might destroy the one who seeks it. That is why we leave it alone, June Park said. Some questions are too dangerous to answer. Your species learned that lesson young, Hyo replied. The congregation never did. We thought we could master everything, understand everything, conquer everything. We were wrong. She turned away from the sealed entrance and they walked to a conference room where they could talk more privately. Recovery specialist Yeon Kang joined them, curious to speak with someone who had survived the dimensional space for more than a few seconds. Can you describe what you experienced? Yeon asked carefully. Every account we have is different and I am trying to understand the nature of the fractures better. Hyo was silent for a moment, gathering her thoughts. It is difficult to explain in words that exist in 3 dimensions. Imagine you could see every moment of your life simultaneously, past, present, future, all happening at once. Now imagine you could see every possible version of your life, every choice you might have made, every outcome that could have occurred. Now expand that to every life in the universe, every possibility, every reality. She looked at her hands as if seeing them for the first time. I experienced consciousness without time. I was aware of myself dying 1 billion years from now and being born 1 billion years in the past, and both were happening in the same instant. I saw the congregation rise and fall, saw species that would not exist for millennia, saw the end of the universe itself, and I understood that everything we do, everything we are, is temporary and small beyond comprehension. That sounds terrifying, Mina said softly. It was worse than terror, Hyo replied. Terror implies you can escape or fight back. This was understanding, complete, total, inescapable understanding of how meaningless our actions are in the vast scale of existence. Every war I won, every world I conquered, every strategy I perfected, all of it will fade to nothing. The congregation itself will end eventually, and no one will remember we ever existed. Engineer Tae-choi spoke up, his voice hesitant. But you are here now. You came back. That must mean something. I came back because part of my consciousness was still anchored to my body, Hyo explained. But part of me is still there in that dimensional space, experiencing everything all at once. When I sleep, I return there. When I am not actively focusing on the present moment, my mind drifts back to that infinite perspective. I am trapped between 2 realities now, and I will be for the rest of my life. What about the others? Admiral Bora asked. Enforcer Day and Diplomat Yuri, how are they coping? Hyo's expression grew sad. Day renounced violence completely. He was a weapon, a tool of conquest, but after experiencing the futility of all conflict, he could not fight anymore. He has become a philosopher, spending his days trying to explain what he learned to others who cannot truly understand. Most think he has gone mad. And Yuri? Yuri never recovered his ability to communicate in linear language. He speaks in patterns and concepts that do not translate to normal thought. The congregation has him in a facility where scholars try to interpret his words, hoping to gain wisdom from his experience. But I think he is simply lost, unable to find his way back to the simple reality we all share. The room fell silent. The cost of the triumvirate's arrogance was now fully clear. They had not died, but they had been destroyed nonetheless, transformed into beings that could no longer function in normal society. I came here to tell you something, Hyo said, looking at each human in turn. The congregation has updated its records. Earth is no longer classified as a primitive species to be conquered or guided. You are now listed as a species of extreme caution, one that guards something beyond our understanding. No congregation vessel will approach without invitation. No military action will be considered against humanity. You are free. Free because we live next to a nightmare, June said quietly. Not the most glorious protection, but effective, Yo replied. You survived not through strength but through wisdom. You learned to respect what you did not understand, to avoid what you could not master, to coexist with mysteries that could destroy you. The congregation has ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years, but we never learned that lesson. We always assumed we could control everything, understand everything, conquer everything. She stood up slowly, preparing to leave. My people will not make that mistake again. Your species taught us humility in a way no defeat in battle ever could. You showed us that true power is not in dominating others, but in knowing when to stop, when to turn away, when to leave well enough alone. Dr. Mina Lee walked with Hayo back to the airlock. Before the alien commander boarded her ship, Mina asked one final question. Do you regret coming here? Regret encountering the fractures? Yo thought about this for a long time. Part of me wishes I could return to who I was before. To see the universe as simple and conquerable. To believe in the superiority of the congregation without doubt. But another part of me, the part that experienced infinite perspective, knows that ignorance is its own kind of prison. I am free now, even if that freedom is painful and confusing. She boarded her ship and departed, returning to a life that would never be the same. The congregation would care for her, would give her whatever she needed, but they could not give her back the certainty she had lost.